Well, hi there again. I'm not sure what happened, but we got cut off. So let's try again. I think that we are back on and live. My little gadget thing on the side here suggests that that's true. So if you're still out there, come on back in. I hope you will. Anyway, I'm not at all sure what happened. I was busy talking, and all of a sudden it went, boom, you're gone. You're not live anymore. And I thought, I am. There's Heidi still trying to get back in. She's in. Hello, Heidi. I'd say just go out and come back, and I'll just kind of chat, talk to myself. I'm good at that for a little while. And, uh, and I'll wait for the rest of you to catch up and be with me. In fact, what I think I'd like to do right now is move into a prayer for all of those folks, all of those spirits and souls and helpers in Surfside in Florida, and just send all the good energy that we possibly can to them. So while the rest of you are trying to get back in, I'll pray. I'll pray. So I know this, that while it is tempting to say, how can God let this happen? God doesn't intervene in those ways. Not anymore. Not since the Old Testament. It is up to people to take care of business on earth. We have been given dominion. And it is looking more and more like people didn't take care of business quite as well as they should have, and tragedy has struck. The body count keeps going up, and yet it's nowhere near where it needs to be to account for everybody. So let us simply hold in our hearts and in our prayers the possibility of miracles. They didn't get lost in the Old Testament, nor even in the New Testament. Even though it's been 2,000 years, miracles still occur. And so let us open our hearts and minds to accept that for our brothers and sisters and mothers and fathers and aunts and uncles and children in Surfside. Let us simply surround everyone with prayer and the willingness for miracles. The families that wait for information, the families that have received information and are now mourning, those who lived in the condos who may or may not still be living. Miracles. We surround them all with that. And we include in our prayers the responders, those who have come from all over the world to be there, to do, to care, to try, to attempt to be part of a miracle. And as someone suggested on Sunday, we include as well those wonderful animals who are working through the rubble, all of them at the risk of their own lives, to do something good. And the support people, we now know of several who have left their comfortable homes and flown to Florida to be there, to take shifts, to do what they can to support the responders and the families. We include all of them in our prayers and know for them that miracles still happen. We know for them inner strength and peace of mind. We know for them the value of hope. And we thank them from the bottom of our hearts for the work that they are doing. We bless them and know that their lives and our lives and all life is better for what they are doing and going through now. And we are still open to miracles. And we let that be so. And so it is. Well, Heidi, I'm glad that you are back. I don't see Jennifer yet, but I'm going to just assume that she's out there and trying to come back. I don't know what you're running into on the other end, and if I click off to check, I don't know that I'll get back. So I'm going to just keep talking and know that you're all out there and know that this is a two-parter tonight, that we will have two pieces to upload when the time comes, because our power went down. Something happened. So, here we go. I think that I would like to talk about what I was going to talk about tonight. You know, our founding fathers and our founding mothers, if the truth be known, read a little bit of Abigail Adams, and that woman was on top of things. Anyway, they all had a dream. And that dream was realized for them somewhere around the 4th of July, with the final wording of the Declaration of Independence. I'll be talking more about that on Sunday, of course, because that's the actual 4th of July. But I wanted to get a head start on the idea tonight, because as we march up to the date and the event that all of the hoopla is about, I think we need to consider the mindset of those who risked it all by signing that document that officially severed ties with their homeland. What they must have gone through to get those words just right. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Beautiful words. Of course, the men who wrote the words didn't necessarily mean all men, even though they said that when they wrote the words. What they meant was all men like us. But in spite of their intentions, and in spite of what those intentions might have been, the words that they wrote are words we have come to live by. Words that each generation looks at once again and decides the meaning of. They are words we live by, even if we do not always live up to them. So every year we dress up in red, white, and blue outfits and celebrate what was done 2.5 centuries ago by people who probably wouldn't recognize the world that they helped create. So there I was. There I was at the Unity Church in Cambria in July of 2015. And I remember announcing that, for what should have been pretty obvious reasons, there were not going to be any fireworks at the local park on the 4th of July, even though fireworks usually took place out in the water at the beach. The park backed right up to the ocean. We were in the middle of a drought, and fire alerts were at an all-time high, so no flares, no rockets, red glare, no things going pop in the night. In lieu of fireworks, there was going to be an all-day party with bounce houses and barbecues and dance bands. And, well, honestly, I don't know how it went because I stayed home. On one hand, I was grateful we didn't have to sedate the cats that year. They're petrified by the sound of the fireworks, as was the one dog at that stage. But our big, brave cat boy would go under the bed and not come out for days after the 4th of July. And I was glad he wasn't going to have to go through that. Nor were we. But there is a small part of me that missed the rockets' red glare and the bombs bursting in air and the giant sparkling chrysanthemums and shooting stars. It was always inspiring. And it reminded me of the many years in a different world when my kids were little and how excited they used to be by the bright lights. We'd buy the biggest box of Safe and Sane fireworks we could find, and so did every house on the block. And the show went on for hours. All while hoping that we wouldn't burn down the house or traumatize the animals or send anyone to the emergency hospital. And most years we managed, 2 out of 3. Truth is, even in those days, without a drought, there was nothing particularly safe or sane about those fireworks. And even the Safe and Sane shows we later paid a fair amount of money to go to were only safe if you kept your distance and just spectated. For the people actually involved, there was always an element of risk, those people who set up the pyrotechnics. But I was told by a member of our congregation in Burbank, whose family was actually a gathering of pyrotechnicians, there's a word, that part of it is also where the greatest experience lies. He was a very mild-mannered, quiet little man. But on the 4th, he would sneak away from the rest of us and go confab with the guys setting up the fireworks display. And he would come back looking a bit like Moses coming down from the mountain, glowing with his secret knowledge. All of which does get me wondering if some of us, if I have, perhaps, settled for a safe and sane life, for guarantees and assurances, and perhaps, maybe just perhaps, lost some of my sense of wonder along the way. In the movie 1,000 Clowns, the character Murray Burns recalls his moment of awakening. He's sitting on the express going to work, just staring out the window, watching the stops whiz by. He doesn't feel great. He doesn't feel rotten. He just isn't feeling. And it occurs to him that he had to really concentrate to figure out what day of the week it was. And then he woke up. You got to own your own days, he says, and name them. Each one of them, every one of them. Or else the years go right by and none of them belong to you. Now, while I do believe we all need a certain amount of fallow time, time to pause and reflect, time to watch the grass grow and smell the roses, and certainly we need a sense of inner peace and stability and safety and comfort. But we also need to go beyond our comfort zones and occasionally step into the unknown. If we don't do that, Kent Nurburn writes, our senses dull. Our world becomes small, and we lose our sense of wonder. Our eyes don't lift to the horizon. Our ears don't hear the sounds around us. The edge is off our experience. And we pass our days in a routine that is both comfortable, safe, and limiting. And we wake up one day and find that we have lost our dreams in order to protect our days. We become, if you will, anesthetized and immobilized. The fear of the unknown and the lure of the comfortable will conspire to keep us safe, to keep us from taking any chances or doing anything that might add color to our lives. Fear of loss or losing, fear of change, chains us to the same patterns, the same actions, the same results, day after day. Even when we get away, we don't allow ourselves to go too far from the familiar. We become kind of like that character in Postcards from the Edge who sends a postcard home from vacation, having a wonderful time. Wish I were here. I've been there. Haven't you? In a beautiful place, a place I'd worked very hard to get to, a place to seek rest and maybe find spiritual illumination. And suddenly finding that while I thought I was waiting with journal in hand for God to appear or something supernatural to occur, while I was waiting, what suddenly occurred to me was that what was missing was me. My attention. I was so busy trying to be spiritual that I wasn't being. Thich Nhat Hanh says we spend a lot of time looking for happiness when the world right around us is full of wonder. To be alive, he says, and to walk on the earth is a miracle. And yet most of us are running as if there were some better place to go. Or something better to get to. I think we need to learn how to relax into our spirituality. We need to look around. We need to worry less about safe and sane and become more involved in the soulful and the sacred, to create moments of real meaning, or our lives may not have any. Our founding fathers and mothers were willing to step out, to take a chance, a big chance. And they pledged everything to it. Their property, their lives, their sacred honor. Too often, I think, we sit around being bored by life. Pablo Neruda writes, life is boring, except for flowers, sunshine, your perfect legs, the ways bodies fit together, coffee in the morning. These are just moments. I struggle, he writes, with the in-betweens. I just want to never stop loving like there was nothing else to do. Because what else is there to do? I think if we are not going to name our days, I mean, they already have names, but to give them our names, we're not going to name our days. We should at least wake up to the inherent wonder of them, shouldn't we? And the potential for the divine to express itself through us in them. The theologian Samuel Miller writes, in the muddled mess of this world, in the confusion and the boredom, we ought to be able to spot something, an event, a person, a memory, an act, a turning of the soul, a flash of bright wings, the surprise of sweet compassion. Somewhere we ought to pick out a glory to celebrate. I like that phrase. A glory to celebrate. Life is full of glories. So I ask you, what could be more glorious? What could possibly be more glorious than the discovery of God in every moment of your life? What more glorious than the realization that the world, our world, could be renewed, recreated in any moment? What could be more glorious than really living our faith and stepping forward as our forefathers did, fearlessly knowing that we live and move and have our being in what they called divine providence? If that isn't a wow, you're farther away from wonder than you think you are. There's a Celtic text that reads, I am the wind that breathes upon the sea. I am the wave on the ocean. I am the murmur of leaves rustling. I am the rays of the sun. I am the beam of the moon and stars. I am the power of trees growing. I am the bud breaking into blossom. I am the movement of the salmon swimming. I am the courage of the wild boar fighting. I am the speed of the stag running. I am the strength of the ox pulling the plow. I am the size of the mighty oak. I am the thoughts of all people who see my beauty and praise my grace. Praise God, says the Hasidic teacher Rabbi Nachman. It puts everything else into its proper place and perspective. Gratitude rejoices with her sister Joy and is always ready to light the candles and have a party. Praise doesn't much like the old cronies of boredom and despair and taking things for granted. But they are welcome to the party anyway because we are grateful for everything. Thoreau says now or never. You must live in the present, launch yourself on every wave, find eternity in the moment. Now or never. I think that's probably what the founders felt. They had tried to get along, sort of, but they knew what they wanted, and that wasn't it. So they changed things. In the words of one anonymous writer, our daily life is a theater of grace with continuous performances. When we come to see that, our lives take on a special radiance from within. Rumi describes it further. Something opens our wings. something makes boredom and hurt disappear. Someone fills the cup in front of us, and we taste only sacredness. You know, my friends, regardless of our circumstances in the moment, God awaits our willingness to live gloriously. Living gloriously in God, with God, can be amazing. It can make you feel as you have never felt before. It may not make you a saint. Not sure you would want to be. I'm not sure I would want to be. But Phyllis McGinley writes, the wonderful thing about saints is that they were human. They lost their tempers, they got hungry, they scolded God. They were egotistical or testy or impatient in their turns. They made mistakes and regretted them, and still they went on, doggedly blundering toward heaven. And they lived passionate life. They doggedly blundered toward heaven. I love that phrase. It describes most of our lives, doesn't it? Doggedly, stumbling, blundering toward what we know is good. Garrison Keillor once commented that he really liked what Pastor Tommerdahl said at Mrs. Lundberg's funeral. The pastor spoke from the text, "So teach us to number our days that we may apply our hearts unto wisdom." And to him it meant that we should live each day as though it were our last. So Keillor asks the question, if you live today as if it were your last, wouldn't you buy a box of rockets and fire them all off? Wouldn't you? Okay, so it may not be safe and sane. And it'll probably annoy a lot of animals. But who cares if it's the last day and there aren't any more days coming? And the spectacle just might be spiritually spectacular. Over 200 years ago, although he was a couple of days off in his calculations, John Adams wrote to his wife Abigail, "Dear Abby, the 2nd day of July 1776 will be the most memorable epoch in the history of America. I am apt to believe that it will be celebrated by succeeding generations as the great anniversary festival. It ought to be commemorated as the day of deliverance, by solemn acts of devotion to God Almighty. It ought to be solemnized with pomp and parade, with shows and games and sports and guns and bells and bonfires and illuminations from one end of this continent to the other, from this time forward forevermore." Makes you kind of like John Adams, doesn't it? I wonder what Abby wrote back. Okay, so what with pandemics and droughts and whatnot, some years no fireworks, except for the ones set off by the kids who seem to find them no matter what the rules may be. But that doesn't mean we can't celebrate. Not just on the 4th, but today and every day. With music and pomp, with our personal parades, with illumination, and with solemn devotion to the Spirit of God that lives within each one of us. And we can name this day good. A holiday. A holy day. And because we name it that, It shall be so. Mhm. And so it is. Hmm. So, who do you want to be? What do you want to do in the world? What are you waiting for? What if our founding parents, men and women alike, said, not right now. Let's just wait. Maybe they'll change. Maybe things will get different. What if they had done that? What if there was no 4th of July? What if there was no freedom? See, I believe this: if you have a dream, it's a blueprint. And there's a perfect blueprint within you that will be revealed if you commit to it. And if you stay awake and pay attention and look for the signs and walk through the open doors. If you stay awake, if you stay aware, that blueprint will unfold. I like to speak of Rumi when we get close to closing. He writes out, beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there's a field. I'll meet you there. When the soul lies down in that grass, the world is too full to talk about. Ideas, language, even the phrase each other doesn't make sense. The breeze at dawn has secrets to tell you. Don't go back to sleep. You must ask for what you really want. Ask for what you really want. Don't go back to sleep. People are going back and forth across the door sill where the two worlds touch. The door is round and open. Don't go back to sleep. What do you want to be? Who do you want to be? What are you waiting for? Much to think about between now and Sunday, the 4th of July. I don't disagree, Heidi. I think we might want to reconsider our holidays, at least to the point where we understand why we're celebrating them. Some of them just seem to be there because, and some are haphazardly moved around just to make it more convenient. I was born on Columbus Day, so it'll always be October 12th to me, not a Monday holiday. And at the rate he's going to be scrapped pretty soon anyway, if he hasn't already been. And then I remember when we celebrated Abraham Lincoln's birthday and Washington's birthday, and then all of a sudden it was Clomp, President's Day. And there are a couple of presidents I don't particularly want to celebrate. We shall remain nameless in the moment. Some were better than others. Not all presidents are created equal. Might be an interesting idea. Why don't you start a movement, Heidi? Update national holidays. Scrap them all and start again. What do we really want to celebrate? Who do we really want to be? And I think what we celebrate says a lot about who we are. Don't you? Well, some people seem not to have made it back, or they're sitting in the background being very quiet, or they just couldn't get through. But that's okay. We'll post this, and hopefully people will find us. Let's pray, shall we? The idea may be radical, but radical ideas are the ones that make the difference. So I'm going to ask you to close your eyes if that works for you, and if not, just soft focus so that your attention goes within and isn't out there on the screen or whatever else may be going on in your environment. And simply know with me that God is where you are. You are never, ever, not for one moment of your life, have you been or will you ever be alone. The power of the universe surrounds you, fills you, and expresses through you in every moment. It is intimately personal. Intimately personal. Let us celebrate that if we celebrate nothing else. Let us recognize that with the awareness of God within, every day is a holy day, a holiday, every day. We don't need to mark it on our calendars. We need to remember and celebrate. Let us every morning wake up with the awareness that God is where we are, now, always. And let us know that just as in the beginning God said, let there be light, let us bring the light into every day, every moment of our lives, the light of awareness, of enlightenment, the light that casts no shadow, but simply illuminates our minds, our hearts, our actions, and our lives. We are free because we choose to be. In our hearts, in our minds, in our lives. And we are free to be who we choose to be kind, to be loving, to be understanding, and to be healed. We bring into our prayers tonight continued healing for Lainey, for her mother, for Dana, for Brenda, for all of those who have asked for prayers for physical healing and awareness. And we acknowledge, too, that each of us has the power within us to call up that which we most desire. We include Heidi's friend Lisa, knowing that she is cancer-free, that there is that within her that is stronger than any dis-ease, and it responds now and immediately. Whatever it is any one of us feels we need, we know now that there is that within us that responds to that need and takes action appropriately. If there are unspoken prayer requests, then Know that the power in the universe for good knows what they are and responds. All is well. Nothing is ever lost in the universe. It returns to us sometimes as a sweet memory. And we are stronger than our experiences and mightier than our fears. God moves in us, as us, and through us, and we are deeply, deeply grateful for that. And simply let it be so.
And so it is.
And so it is. I invite you to repeat after me. The universe is calling.
The universe is calling.
We are here to answer the call.
We are here to answer the call.
With spiritual truth.
With spiritual truth.
With spiritual action.
With spiritual action.
And with a mighty love.
And with a mighty love.
We are here.
We are here.
To be agents of change in our lives.
To be agents of change in our lives.
In our communities.
In our communities.
And in our world.
And in our world.
And so we are.
And so we are.
And so it is. Jefferson, my dear. We have a closing song. It is most appropriate. I knew it would be. I love you all. Thank you for being here. You make a difference in my life. I hope I make some difference in yours. I'll be back here Sunday, 4th of July. Probably in red, white, and blue, because I can't resist the urge. In the meantime, take care of yourselves. Know that you go with God, because in fact you can go no other way.